Welcome to the Art of Design. This is our inaugural podcast episode. Enjoy the conversation as we explore how creativity isn't just something we admire, but it's something that shapes us, from the walls we live in to the objects we touch every day. In this very special inaugural episode of our podcast, we're diving deep into the intersection of art, design, and life with four extraordinary guests who, like any good piece of art, will inspire, challenge, and make you see the world a little differently. First, we have Krishnamachari Bose, a master of abstraction who uses paint, sculpture, and multimedia to tell us stories of modern life. His works aren't just pieces, they're windows into our collective imaginations. Next, Aabha Bakaya Singh, a journalist with a keen eye for stories that matter, joins us. A woman who has spent years on the front lines of news, she now helps others craft their own narratives and lead with purpose. And watch out, she's got more stories than anyone can handle. Then we have Angelique Dhama, the visionary behind OBT and Thomas Good, where luxury meets craftsmanship in the form of hand-woven carpets and timeless design. She's not just selling carpets, she's weaving narratives of tradition, quality, and innovation. Finally, we have Akshat Bhatt, an architect whose designs are as thought-provoking as they are functional. From urban spaces to intimate interiors, he's changing the way we think about the environments we live in and how they reflect our humanity. And of course, our very own Nare Ali, consulting editor behind closed doors and a journalist with a wealth of experience in uncovering stories that truly matter. She'll help guide us through this rich conversation, giving us insight into the deeper layers of art and design. So buckle up as we explore how art and design speaks to us, shapes us, and sometimes even transforms the way we see the world.
Hi everyone, welcome to BCD once again. And as I mentioned to you guys, we're going to talk about how art and design have permeated into our day-to-day lives. So the most interesting thing I figured out, when you normally enter any space, especially if it's a design space like the Sunday store, you tend to look at the objects, you tend to look at the art, the architecture, the design. And, you are inherently curious to know more, not just about the object or the art, but the people behind it. So where do you think that sense of curiosity comes from, the desire to know the pieces, the people behind it, the kind of craftsmanship that has been there? So I just wanted to begin with you, Bose.
Oh. Thank you so much, Naire, for inviting me to be at BCD. Congratulations and all my best wishes. Let me start with that. I like surprises, Here is also for me surprise, new things, new space. I don't need to know, as Picasso said once, that if you know what you're going to paint, then there is no point in painting. I believe that, and I look at the site and location and time and improvise it whatever I know. So you need to have the past, a strong past, and that gives you confidence. The process of this conversation is also for me a meaningful conversation, always an important one. And I believe that it is important to start from home. So that's where I start.
So do you agree with him, Aabha, that you like it to be more spontaneous and you don't really need to understand things as deeply? How does it work for you?
No, I didn't mean that. While you work, definitely you understand the process. It is important. It is important to have conversations. That's what I mean. Yeah.
Sure.
Picking up from what he just said, and of course he's speaking as someone who's an artist.
Yes.
With great expertise and a deep process for his work. But speaking just as an individual, I think talking about conversations, I think today everybody wants to have something in their home that can be a conversation starter.
Right?
There is, you want to sort of invite people into your home, have a sense of that's inviting, warm, cozy. You want something striking. You want a piece that's going to make them remember something, think of something, ask you, where did you get that from? What is that about? It sparks a story. And I think especially in a day and age where everyone is so into having immersive experiences, traveling around the world, collecting things, memorabilia. A lot of that's coming back as well. That vintage trend,
Yes.
is really making a return. I think at a time like that, being able to have some of those objects in your home can really create that extra bit of magic.
Great. Angelique, going back to the conversation that we had, first of all, you think carpets can be a conversation starter?
Let me also follow suit and congratulate Karen on this wonderful new beginning. And like you made Louis Vuitton stand very tall, I'm sure we're going to see a long, strong behind the door. So congratulations, I'm very happy to be here today. Just before I can dwell into carpets, I just wanted to also say something that we touched upon. I really want to know what my cook's mood is when he's cooking. Are you in a good mood? I mean, how does the food taste then? Because if you're not in a good mood, so I want to know,
Right.
is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I think the history of design,
Right.
whether it's a wallpaper or a beautiful furniture piece or a carpet for that matter, I think the history of it, the entire community it started with, it belongs to, it can belong to in the future. Just having that conversation, like Aabha was saying, I mean, when I have something in my house, it is a conversation because it says something about me.
Yes.
It's not only saying something about you and the place I bought it from, but I have related to that product, right? I've related to the art, I've related to the community, I've related to the material. So so design is very important. I mean, design is important. It communicates, it tells stories, but it also is a bond between the brand, the product, and the purchaser. So I think that's very important. Coming to carpets being conversational pieces, I think the more and more we are seeing that homes are easy, relaxed. Why you want to come home and be able to take your shoes off and sit, right? Not have to be able to get bored of something that is too ornate.
Yeah.
That's what I'm seeing today. And a carpet is a very easy decorative piece that doesn't really, hurt you in your eye. I mean, it's lying there. I think you bring it out if you have to. You can always wrap it up and put it behind. I mean, it's not like the furniture where you can't do anything with it. So I'm saying that it's going to be more and more important in terms of adding that ornate to the home, but also from the whole history and craftsmanship and culture and material and everything, it's going to be more and more important to us. It was very important to people who could afford it way back then, and it's going to be important today, and it's always going to be.
Thank you. So moving on to you, Akshat, taking off from her conversation, do you think it's a great way, art and design, to not just preserve, and create new memories? There's also a strong emotional connect, but it's also an icebreaker, a good conversational starter. Maybe you have a beautiful piece or a sculptor or an art, and somebody walks into your home and they notice it, and they probably ask you questions about it, and it takes you back to the history, to the memory associated with you. What do you think?
Well, uniqueness and individuality are something that all creatures are grateful, sentient beings. So you tend to select, you tend to use art as an object that will ask questions.
Yes.
And often you look at it to seek answers, be it to make you feel alive or alert or relaxed and calm. Whatever it may be, the artist and the designer are counterparts.
Yeah.
Because in our world, the artist is supposed to ask questions of us, and the designer is supposed to provide answers. And so we look at art, as an architect, I look at art and object differently from how I look at buildings. And I sort of stand at a slightly different position on this to say, art isn't an object of consumption. It is something that it generates a thought. And the thoughts that a work of art or any other object will provoke of you may be very different from what the artist had conceived of it. That's just the theory of deconstruction, read out the reader.
Interesting. I'd like to know your input on this. Do you agree with what he says? Would you like to add to it? Yeah.
It is, it is inspiring in some ways that, that's what we meant, I feel.
Yes, absolutely.
Thought-provoking. Sometimes, it has its own history, whether it is carpet or, whatever we pick up. You are a curator. At home, if you are cooking, you are actually picking up the right ingredients.
You're right.
That choosing part of it is very important. The same way, I feel everybody's a curator in some ways. We have to pick up, whether it is collecting an art, whether it is collecting a piece of furniture, it's all, you are a designer. That design, that word itself got incredible meaning. Design. That's a word, actually, design is design. Everything existing got signature. The sign is there. So you design it. Every moment you are designing. A designer is always reinventing from the invented. That's what I feel in contemporary time. Otherwise, you won't make anything new. Familiarity always kills your boundary. But monotony comes in familiarity.
So, I wanted
Yeah,
to
sure.
another level.
Yeah.
You talked about curating different pieces. I've been reading a lot about walls.
Okay. Interesting.
The new design element, and people are bored of either not the minimalist trend is out. People actually want to section their homes into cozy spaces that they can design in different ways, and they want a multitude of things on the walls, either clay with colors or graffiti or all kinds of things. So I think it's just a reflection of how people increasingly want to customize a space to suit different facets of their personality. And I think we're all multidimensional. We're also, so many of us leaders who are using our spaces now for a multitude of purposes. We are spending more time at home, whether it's for work. We're also really big on wellness. So you want space in your home for
A yoga, yeah, right. A workout, yeah.
Exactly. And I think that that sort of detailing in terms of how to section off and use different facets of your home, it just provides a plethora of opportunity to express yourself.
So, do you think art and design speak a universal language, or are they time and specific? How does it work?
Well, according to me, art and design are two different things.
Okay, right.
I mean, an artist, like you rightly said, be it Picasso, he didn't know what he was going to create because there wasn't a problem statement out there.
Okay.
He was just in his good mood or bad, and he wanted to create something that was talking about that phase of his life.
Yeah, right.
So, but a design is meant to solve a problem. I mean, a design has to be something that would mean something to somebody. Otherwise, we would have designers who only made one bespoke collection for themselves. So I think it is a lot more out there where so I'm just trying to dissect the art and design.
Right.
Saying art is for maybe you and whoever may appreciate it in the future, but design is for more people.
Okay.
And it's meant to answer a problem.
Okay. Okay.
Provide a solution. And a design, when you do that, and you're saying, okay, I think there are many people out there who want to wear want to wear clothes that are great, that are well cut, that have the best fabrics, but they do not want it to shout Louis Vuitton.
Understated luxury. That's what you're talking about. Yeah.
Right?
Right.
The problem.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give them the best fabric.
Yeah.
I'm going to have the same craftsman, and I'm going to give them a beautiful jacket that fits like no other, but it says no brand because they are very comfortable in their own skin.
Yeah.
They don't have to validate.
But isn't that also an aspect of art? Yeah.
I mean, I think that's design. So art and design, it cannot be the same thing. I mean, you can be an artist who designs, but a design has to have a deeper meaning.
Okay, right.
That's what I feel. I don't know, but
May I?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, please do.
I think, the problem in contemporary life is and what I observed from my life. I'm 62. Most of the time poets come together as poets. Everybody's in theater. People talk about theater. Musicians talk about music. Designers talk about designers. I think it should be a kind of amalgamation
Exactly.
of all kinds of practices should come together. That kind of cultural space we should create. This is an important moment for us. I have an experience with one of my. He passed away. He was an artist. His name is Tom Marioni in San Francisco. I visited his studio in '96 when I received an award to travel in the US. So I was in Washington, Chicago, Atlanta, Santa Fe, LA, San Francisco, and New York. In San Francisco, at the studio, he called his friends every Thursday and asked them to bring a bottle of beer. And I think that evening, with the beer, and there is a kind of statement he made in his contemporary statement. You can check it out. It says, the act of drinking beer with friends is the highest form of art. I believe that it is important that, to have conversations. Conversations nowadays you don't see it at home. The parents won't talk to children. Children is in silos. I think we have to erase that borders of silos.
Yeah, there's an
That
art
is
of
what I'm
conversation
saying.
also.
Everybody is an artist. That's what mentioned by a German artist called Joseph
But
Beuys.
we will
So
listen to-
everybody can become an artist, but
Yeah,
I
we
don't
can.
think everybody is an artist.
I
But everyone can be a designer. Why we are making, you are an artist, you are a designer, you don't need to call it like that. I think when we talk about structure of it, there is a kind of architecture.
I think everybody's an artist, but not everybody's a designer.
I think she's looking at it from the practical element. Yeah.
Also, I think when we talked about art, we were not really talking about the art of conversation. We were talking about the art pieces that we see out there, that people have in their homes.
Yes.
It's part of their home decor.
Right.
Which is there for a reason. Were you really so influenced by the Renaissance? Or you really want somebody in the room to say, listen, I bought this piece for an arm and a leg, really. And I have it in my whole room. So I think it's like, I was referring to that art, not like, you need art to do anything in life. Otherwise, or craft.
So in your opinion, there are two ends of the spectrum, but do you think there is a meeting point?
Of course, there's a meeting point.
Yeah.
I mean, there is definitely a meeting point.
So that's what I would like to know. Yeah.
Even the sun sets everything.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a meeting point for everything.
But when you design, you're innovating.
Yes.
There will always be this one point of counter texture
Right.
where you find something through your exploration that is unique
Yes.
and that you have never done before. If it is extreme enough, and when someone experiences it, that human interaction makes that a moment in art, right? Or that moment in time. But that doesn't mean that genus loci is art. That genus loci is for that one time space. Art and design are timeless, but they are born and they do express the moment in time that their creator thought of them. Right? So in that sense, timelessness begins from the moment
You
the
create.
object
Yeah.
is conceived.
Yes.
The similarity is that both are objectified.
Yes.
The work of art, the object that occupies the space that a designer creates, that object, say a rug, is not art.
It's a
Crafted object.
got
And
it.
there is a
Yes.
difference. And I think we started really blurring those boundaries when we communicate
Right.
as to what is art, what's craft, and what is design. Right? They are not the same. There are distinctions. The boundaries can be blurred,
But it's imperative to maintain those distinctions.
definitely.
Okay.
I think clearly we're on a panel with people who are very passionate about their respective contributions to these various lines of work. Speaking as an individual,
Right. Absolutely.
I neither know how to. I neither know art nor design.
Oh, but you are definitely somebody running a business which which is all about some very beautiful artifacts. I think I think what's interesting today from a consumer point of view is that all of them have become important. Earlier, perhaps art was, let's say, foreseen as something that you would go out and buy if you had money or if you wanted to collect. Today, everyone's buying art, right? You have contemporary art, you have affordable art, you have art that's sculpture, you have all kinds of things.
And that's something I feel very strongly about, actually.
Okay.
We had that conversation.
I
Yeah.
have a lot of works at home. I've inherited them through various engagements through my life, or through my professional and personal life. I do not for a moment believe, because I know what's going to come out at the end of this conversation, that artists should not make money. I don't believe that artists should not make money. But I do believe that art cannot be commodified. And I think at some level we have to understand the commodification of art and or that of an artist, right? And it eventually
Is detrimental to his progress.
often they become a victim of their own success.
Yes.
It's a great mind putting out a great question, and then if it is just that there seems to be a tick to say, we are the first and foremost the old idea of this is that is not tenable anymore. What you're seeing is an emergence of people who have the ability to express their individuality. But that does not mean that the position of contemporary architecture or modern architecture of being surfaces and voids, as opposed to traditionalist architecture, which is more decorative and ornamental, and by the way, it was not, because those decorations and ornaments were derived from construction technique, which is process that we talk about. Modern architecture took process or engaged in processes that were so deep that actually took that ornamentation away to clean out the space.
Yeah.
It is the user's familiarity. Obviously, we will all be more familiar with things that have existed for centuries and millennia because they have existed and they have stood that physical test of time. And we need to distinguish between the idea of a physical test of time and the intellectual test of time. So they have stood, and because they have, you're more familiar with it, and that's something that we all, as people, tend to gravitate towards, which is familiarity. It is comfort for us. But having said that, the return to traditionalism is an absolute myth. No one has ever achieved it. So every time you reinvent, you try to bring back something which you think is a movement, be it classical or traditional, there is a change in it.
So, I was just going to give my perspective on this, but I was actually thinking from a consumer industry point of view. Today, I think the interior industry is at a 4% CAGR. I've never seen this industry booming the way it is, right?
Absolutely.
And where it's a mix of art, architecture, design, a few styling, a few other things that all are coming together. You cannot book an interior designer or an interior consultant. You have new brands coming up every day. I think people in the design world and in the architecture world are innovating and finding new solutions. Whether it be with regards to sustainability, whether it be regards to defining spaces, and I think it's a really exciting time. So I'm not alluding exactly to your thoughts, but just coming from from a consumer perspective, I actually feel that. And I actually think there is a move towards maximalism. It may not be bringing back something necessarily, but I think that there is a move towards deeper expression. And I think in that we may see some interesting trends coming up in the next couple of years.
Just to add to that, and I'm sorry I'm jumping in, but this conversation is just so fantastic. Going back and building on what Aabha said, and going back to you actually, Bose, you've got Detail that's opened in Bangalore, and I hope I pronounced that right.
Yeah.
And going back to and sort of picking up bits from Akshat's conversation, where art there is sanctity of art, and we must respect that. And but when you go into a Detail store, you see the blurring of all those lines.
Yeah.
Right? You see that sort of you see it in furniture.
Yeah.
You see it in beautiful pieces. So you see this. I don't know whether it's an emergence or whether, and pardon me for my ignorance because I may not know that, but I see that there is this
strong blurring of lines between art and physicality in terms of furniture, structures, or sculpture. And that seems to be the sort of trend that everybody is picking up on. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Now, my gallery is called the Gallery Detail Artist. Artist. Artist used to be a term used long time ago. Artists as architects, architects as Le Corbusier to there were five great names to pick up. They were painters. They made carpet design. They did furniture. If you take Le Corbusier, and they didn't have degree. Frank Lloyd Wright didn't have degree, or Le Corbusier doesn't have degree. I feel that everybody is an artist. Everybody is a designer. How you call it is, I see it, you're looking at your point or listening to your point. I was thinking, in 1840s, photography was invented. That time, people said, and nobody used to consider photography as art, or digital work is nobody considered as art, or carpet, or anything in contemporary life. You conduct it as a kind of really values it. When you look at the architect like Ettore Sottsass, he was a conceptual artist, he was a performance artist. He invented amazing stuff, furniture, invented vinyl, also designed the typewriter, all those kind of stuff. So I feel that everybody has that. Even your children got, when they pick up something, some object, definitely they're picking up taste. So we have to, I think taste making is one of the important aspects. So make them familiar about it. We are not familiar about in India. Nobody was really familiar about contemporary art practices. Only happened in after the first auction, or the liberalization happened in the 90s. So there are so many things are changing. We don't have any kind of contemporary museums, or only few couple of them you can mention. Kiran Nadar is coming up with a large space. It is one of the largest, I would say, Tate Modern is only 3,700 square feet of space. Here she is making 1 million square feet space, which is amazing. And it is a cultural center. It is not just design. There is a design space, there is the art space, there are all of them coming together. That kind of confluence is important, I think, merging, understanding that each one has its own values. Yeah. And coming back to your extreme.
Your expressions. Okay, I think this could get a very long, deep.
Yeah, I know. I'd love to know your take. Yeah.
I'm already going down. It's okay.
Yes, Akshat, we need to know your perspective.
Yeah, maximalism. We are talking about maximalism. How we understand maximalism is that you need to know what is minimalism is. So these two things are just opposing, or two things exist here, exist everywhere, and I, as individually, I like temporality. What cannot be changed is the structure of an architectural space, but we can definitely change the colors of the walls. You are talking about the spaces. So you can change a lot of things, even move around artworks and play around. There's a kind of theatricality, performance, everything is coming there.
So I think, as much as we'd love to, go on with this conversation because it's absolutely fascinating, I think
I think we owe Akshat the last word.
we'll have, yes, we want him to, yes, Akshat, we'd like you to have the last word.
I really have nothing to say that is over this conversation. But to your point,
Just say that we are all artists and designers.
we're not.
That's what he was debating in his mind. But
No.
Let's see how.
At the moment, 70% of humanity lives 200 kilometers from cities.
Yes.
By the year 2030, 90% of mankind will be less than 100 kilometers from a city.
Wow.
That's why you're consuming as much as you're consuming for our built environment. Now remember that the built environment or the of people like us who have a responsibility as professionals towards the built environment also have a responsibility to project what will happen to it and to the mental well-being or the mental health of the people who occupy these spaces over a certain amount of
Yeah.
time. A responsible professional will not argue with you for the sake of an argument or the sake of making an intellectual point. They would argue with you because they probably know something about how that built environment is going to affect you over the next 25, 35 years. You see people who have grown up in a library or around an India Habitat Center like space in urban environments versus seeing people who haven't had that opportunity. Doesn't mean one is a bad person and one is a good person. It means they develop differently. You can predict that development or you can project that development to a large extent. Outliers will always exist.
That's a valid point. What is actually, are you saying that people are not adapting fast enough?
No, I'm saying that, well, we as professionals, architecture is not ready, or the change, the pace at which our cities have to change and our built environment has to change is actually so extreme that professionals are not able to adapt to it. And we're actually, more often than not, we're falling back to cliches, which leads to movements like what you say, well, maximalism is all over. Because you don't have clarity in what you want to say. So put it in there. Buy another thing because you can. Look, the only renewable commodity in this world is money. Right? What else is a absolutely renewable resource? Time isn't. Physical resources from the earth are not. Energy is not. Our lives are not. Our time is not.
I think that's definitely a more long-term view, and yeah, clearly, like you said, coming from his point of view as someone who can see it happening. Super interesting.
Okay, guys, great. Thank you so much for a very engaging conversation. Thank you to all our panelists.
Thank you, everybody, for being here this evening. It means a lot. It is our first podcast, and I couldn't have asked for a better group of people to have started it off. Thank you so much, Akshat. I will have another conversation with you. And
On the renewable money.
And Angie, of course, you're the force behind me and my cheerleader. I don't take that for granted. Thank you very much. Aabha, thank you so much for doing this. You're a voice of wisdom, and we appreciate everything you've done and made points here today. And Bose, what can I say? Like I said, I'm going to have to sell that kidney soon. But thank you so much for being here. We love your work. Nairi, thank you for moderating this.
My pleasure.
And to my girls, Vani and Ananya, thank you for being on this journey with me. And last of all, Jayman, Jayman to the world, JD to me, we love you. Thank you for helping us with this. Alok, my supporter and financier. Thank you, thank you.